My name is Jonathan Winbush. I'm a motion graphics artist originally from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, currently based in Southern California. I've been working in Hollywood out here since around 2006, where I got my start interning under Adam Sandler. So I got to work on all the Happy Madison films back then. And from there, I went to work with Marvel, DC, Warner Brothers, working basically in feature film and television, and then a little bit of gaming as well. But basically, if it has a screen, I'm designing and animating for it. So my story with YouTube is a funny one because as a motion graphics artist, I'm usually taking these different projects and I'm figuring them out on the fly for the different clients. So if there's a problem, usually I have to take some time to troubleshoot. And a lot of times when a problem came up during a certain project, that same problem would come up maybe like 3 months down the road on a different project. And I'm always like, I just did this. How did I just do this? And so what I started doing for myself was I started actually screen capturing my workflow whenever I was figuring stuff out in either like Cinema 4D or After Effects or Unreal Engine. I would have an archive of my work that I screen captured. So if that problem ever came up again, I would be able to go to my archive and just kind of go back and see exactly what I did. And that way I didn't have to turn my wheels and refigure stuff out. And so fast forward, a lot of my colleagues would often ask me like, hey, Jonathan, do you know how to do like this certain thing, maybe in like Cinema 4D? And then I would say, oh yeah, actually I did figure that out. Let me send you my video clip and maybe you could just watch my video file and see how I did it. And after years of doing that, people are just like, why aren't you putting this stuff up on YouTube? So it kind of started from there. I tested the grounds a few years ago and yeah, I found an audience there and the rest is history. I can't say particularly that I have any mentors. I have a lot of influences though, because like someone like myself, I like to go outside and do like a lot of hiking just because I like to like I build a lot of 3D environments and so my specialty I'm really looking at how like the lighting is affecting the different objects in the real world and I use that to relate back to my work. And so I do a lot of hiking and when I'm hiking, I take a lot of photography so I can use that as reference for my work later. But as for mentors, I like to look more at studios and seeing what kind of work they're doing. Like a studio that I really respect a lot of the work because they're probably the pioneers for using Unreal Engine for motion graphics would be Capacity. Actually, I would watch a lot of their work and try to backward engineer how they did a lot of stuff because they work a lot in gaming as well. And I'm a big gamer, so it's like everything that they're doing is the stuff that I was into. So I actually reached out to them and they would answer any questions that I had. And they've been a big help on my journey thus far. So there's several softwares that I'm using currently. The first one would be Cinema 4D. The reason I'm using that is because I've been using it for a very long time, since around 2007. So I'm really comfortable in my 3D skills in there. But most recently, I've been using Unreal Engine on top of that. And so I would usually build out my scenes using Cinema 4D. I would get my animations down, maybe some basic geometry, and then I would bring those scenes into Unreal Engine. And from there, I would use it for final polish and everything, texturing, getting the lighting just right. And then the biggest reason I use it is because of the real-time feedback. And so I'm able to render out my scenes literally within seconds. Sometimes it would take maybe like 15 minutes if I'm building out like a really massive world. But most literally, like with previous softwares, I would have to maybe even wait days to render out. But with Unreal, it's practically done within a few minutes. So my studio is basically a two-in-one setup because I do client work and I'm also doing YouTube work as well. And so the way that I have it set up, I have my widescreen monitor in front of me and I still have my studio lights set up at all times and I actually have a Blackmagic camera mounted right above my monitor there. And the reason that I have everything set up and ready to go is because when I'm working on client work, I'm figuring stuff out on the fly. And if I figure something out that took a long time or something that I think would the community would like to know, I would immediately turn on the lights, turn on the camera, I go right into tutorial mode, record it, and then I'll set it aside for later, and I'll edit out like any hiccups or anything if there is any. But basically, my studio is set up to just go right into go mode whenever it comes time for tutorials, but then I could switch right back into client mode if need be. And then I also do some gaming in my space as well. If you go to my YouTube channel, you see that I actually have a custom built arcade cabinet right behind me because if I ever need to take any downtime, I immediately jump on there, play some Simpsons, Mortal Kombat, Ninja Turtles, anything of the like. So everything that I'm into is all right there in my studio, ready at a hand's length. So for anybody that knows me, they know I'm a huge gamer. I actually host a game night on Saturday nights through Discord. I get a bunch of artists from the community together. We play games like Jackbox. We might play like Rocket League, anything that we could bring a mass community together. I host that on Saturday nights. But me personally, whenever I need some downtime and I want to play games, my favorite series right now is the Yakuza series. I'm actually on Yakuza 4 right now just because I love the story arc and everything in there and just seeing how old Tokyo actually played out and seeing how it's progressing through the timeline of the different games. And then I'm actually a huge JRPG fan. I like Dragon Quest. I just finished that. Big fan of the Final Fantasy series. Love everything Nintendo. Just basically picked up Kirby recently, so huge gamer at heart, big kid. You know, I'm older, but still like 12-year-old in my mentality. So just always playing video games, and yeah, it reflects a lot of my work as well. Since I do some advertisement for video games, and so a lot of the stuff that I'm doing in gaming actually coincides with my work as well, which is perfect because I get to love what I do. Everybody knows me as Winbush, and so as an artist, I believe that as artists, we are our brands. And ever since I was a kid, I used to play sports. I used to run track and field. I played basketball, football, and the coach would always call you by your last name. So if they needed me to do anything, they would just say like, "Hey, Winbush, go out there and do the high jump or practice long jump or something like that." And then your teammates would actually call you by your last name as well. So throughout my childhood, I just got used to be called Winbush. Like no one ever called me Jonathan. Everybody called me Winbush. And then fast forward into being a motion graphics artist, it kind of just stuck. I guess people like my last name because no one would ever address me as Jonathan. They would just say like, "Hey, Winbush," and I would think like this is a perfect opportunity to brand myself with a name that people for some reason they like saying and it's familiar to them. And so everything that I do, like my YouTube channel, is named Winbush, and people associate that with me. So even at this event that I'm here, people notice me from YouTube, and everybody's just like, "Hey, what up, Winbush?" And so the branding is working. But yeah, that's basically the origin of Winbush. It's just my last name, but I transferred it into everything that I do today. So ever since I started my journey in YouTube, it's brought in opportunities, but not how you would think. Like I have a lot of people ask me, did I get more client work since I'm more familiar on YouTube now? And I've gotten job offers, but mostly the opportunities came at like events like this, like Motion Plus. They recognize me through my YouTube channel. I get to do a lot of speaking engagements. I've been sponsored by big companies. Like I just got the Epic Mega Grant, and that's because they saw me using Unreal Engine and teaching it through my YouTube channel. So it's brought a lot of brand deals and sponsorship deals, and then speaking opportunities, and a little bit of client work, but mostly my client work worked on my reputation just working out here in Hollywood. So how I got into NFTs is actually a funny story. Been friends with Beeple for a while, and we were all just sitting there watching how Beeple's first sale was going. Like we have a small group of Cinema 4D users. We're usually pretty close, so a lot of us were there supporting him, and we didn't know what NFTs really were back then. So he kind of was, the pioneer, at least for us, and the person that really led that charge. And so after I saw his first sale, I hit him up and it's like, "Dude, you inspired me to look into this NFT stuff, especially because he made like $300,000 on that first sale." And then the second sale, he made 3 million, and I hit him up again. I'm like, okay, dude, I'm all in. So I just went from there, applied to Super Rare. I had a couple of friends over there that were actually already selling on there, like Blake Catherine and Kid Mograph. And so I would ask them questions about NFTs. And yeah, before you know it, I was fully involved in it. So I've been in NFTs for about a year and a half now. But I would consider that more of my side project because I still do client work. I still do my YouTube tutorials, and I'm doing courses with Unreal and everything. And so whenever I get any free time, that's when I'll start doing side projects, which will be in turn my NFT work. So if I wasn't doing art, funny enough, I would probably be in combat sports. I was a big fan of MMA and boxing. I actually did a little bit of boxing in my teen years. I right before I left Pittsburgh to come to Hollywood, I actually did a trial run. It was in a tough man contest in West Virginia. There was only two weight classes, 205 and below, and then 206 and above. So back then I was really, really skinny. So I fought around in the lower weight class, and yeah, I realized fighting wasn't for me. I like hitting the heavy bag. I like sparring, but getting hit myself, it wasn't for me. But, it's something that I always kept up with throughout the years. So I might have gave it a second chance if I didn't become an artist. But yeah, definitely maybe even boxing or MMA, something in that realm. So my best advice for any upcoming artist or aspiring artist is just to go for it. I know it can be scary because in nature, a lot of us artists are introverted, and so we do great work, but we're scared to share it amongst our peers. But the community is a lot more engaging than you might think. So just put your work out there. I mean, there's Instagram, there's Behance, there's even YouTube and Twitter. Put it out there, engage with the community, ask questions. Maybe if there's any artist that you look up to, reach out to them because 9 times out of 10, they actually will reply back to you. They'll give you feedback, and you never know. They might actually bring you into working at a studio that they're at in the future. So just engage with the community and go for it. So I feel like NFT artists doing real life events is very essential. As I alluded to before, I think us as artists, we are our brand. And sometimes it's hard to get our brand across just digitally. Like I know NFT is really big on Twitter, but just meeting people in person, you get to engage with them and you might even become closer with their work. And so myself, I feel like, especially like at the event last night, just meeting other NFT artists, these are people that you've only talked to via Twitter before, especially because of the pandemic. But we've gotten to know each other a lot better. And whenever you get comfortable with a person, that makes you more enticed to maybe even help them out moving forward, give more advice, and just come together as a community as a whole. Because as humans, we want to gather. Like, we don't want to just be lonesome and talking behind screens. It is basically encouraging to be amongst your peers. And so I think NFT artists doing real life events is very essential, especially moving the platform ahead forward. So I want to thank everybody at Motion Plus Design, especially want to thank Cook for reaching out to me via Twitter a couple of months ago. He was asking me about Unreal Engine, and that's where this all came about. He asked me if I wanted to speak at the event, and I said, of course, because I've seen, my colleagues and my friends speak at this event in the past, and they spoke very highly of it. So it's an honor to be here speaking at this event, and hopefully not the last one. Hopefully I'll be speaking at these more in the future. But again, thank you, Cook and Running, for having me on board, and yeah, thank you guys again.